All right, the question we have this week comes from Joe from Hingham. Joe from Hingham, and I guess he is, he's someone that rents because he says he has a tenant. Mark, I have a tenant that hasn't paid rent in a while. How do I get rid of them? Ooh,
oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Kind of an interesting question there.
Yeah, we get that question a lot, though, Rob.
Landlord Joe from Hingham.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls like that with respect to landlord-tenant real estate investment strategies because, we've got a team of attorneys that are really good at that. But the question that I would ask Jim with a follow-up to his question is why? Why is your tenant behind? Right? How long have they been behind? How long have they been there? And most importantly, what's your relationship with that tenant? And this is where we find a lot of misconceptions in the Massachusetts court system. So a lot of people will say, oh, I could never be a landlord in Massachusetts. I can't invest in real estate because the courts in Massachusetts are so unfair. Mm-hmm. They favor the tenants so much. It's simply unfair. It's inequitable to be a landlord in Massachusetts. And I say that's not actually factual. That's not accurate.
No?
Because there's a balance. The court system is there. You've ever seen the scales of justice where the person is holding the scales and attempting to create balance, right? So that it's fair for both sides. That's what the court system is for, to create fairness and equity. Oftentimes, a tenant comes into court without an attorney. The landlord comes in with an attorney, but more importantly, the landlord comes in with an attitude, right? And that's why I'm asking Jim what the relationship is. Because we coach our real estate investor clients, our folks that manage properties, etc., to treat those folks like customers, not like trash who are paying your mortgage down, right? And that so often happens. And what happens is when those folks get into court, the judge sees it right away, immediately. And that's why they feel that they're powerless. That's why they feel as though it's unfair to them, because it's actually moving the leverage back to the middle. Because these folks have been treated poorly by this landlord, not like a customer. So I'd ask Jim, how are you treating the client? It's a hard question to ask. It's a professional question to ask, though, because you don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. And
you walk into court with Jim and you haven't spent a lot of time with Jim and you don't really understand how he's been treating the tenant, you're in for an awakening. That attorney's going to be surprised, too. So I'm assuming Jim treats these folks like customers, right? He treats them really well. They are friendly and cordial, and something's going amiss with his tenant. Something is happening. Maybe the inflation.
It seems like he's concerned, whatever it is at this point, it sounds like that, again, he's concerned that they're not paying their rent.
Yeah, but the wording was, how do I get rid of them, right? How do I get rid of them?
Well, yeah, you are right. I guess, you did pick up on that.
So, words matter, obviously, Jim. But let's assume for the benefit of the doubt that it's a really great relationship and the folks that are renting from him fell on hard times. There are funds. And I don't know if you remember, Rob, back in COVID when we were talking about this and how to work with your tenants and get in front of it and be proactive and talk to them. How are they doing? Is their job going to be okay? And securing. And we were also talking about, let's get some landlord assistance. There's a lot of funding being thrown around. What about landlord assistance, right? If the landlord receives assistance, then they don't have to put the pressure on the tenant who's already feeling the pressure of, at the time of the pandemic. But what I'm here to say now is there is, in essence, landlord assistance. It's called RAFT. So it's a funding that came from the federal government into each state, and it has to be distributed, and it stands for Rental Assistance for Families in Transition. So if Jim's tenants, his customers, are in transition, which is defined as, maybe they lost their job or they're transitioning through some hard times, they more than likely would be eligible. I can't guarantee anything, obviously, but they would be more than likely eligible to receive, that back rent and maybe some more rent going forward to let that person get back on their feet and get running again. and it's a great program, and it's fully funded. And the reality of it is I don't even think they're scratching the surface on how much money they have earmarked to deploy versus what's actually been deployed. So my recommendation always is, first, can we keep these folks in their home? Is it a broke down relationship? Is there so much hostility that it won't work out? If there is a scintilla of belief that we can work through this and everybody can work together and be happy forever and ever and forever and after, then let's research this funding and let's get this funding so that these folks don't have the pressure of paying rent. You're receiving your rent, you're paying your mortgage, so you're not in a position, and everybody loses when you go to court.
Yeah.
I'm here to say that. That comes direct from our mediation department, but everybody loses when you go to court.
You don't want to have it go there if you can avoid that.
Right.
Joe from Hingham, we hope the situation improves for you as a landlord, and we hope your tenant can get up to date on rent. Mark, Jerry was wondering, I'll throw this in, not necessarily a question, but was wondering, he said in his experience, is it good to just offer, if you have a tenant that's in a bad position, offer them money to move out?
Cash for keys, Jerry. That's called cash for keys. That was very popular when there was a glutton of properties on the market. If you remember 08, 09, 10, when the mortgage crisis happened and the real estate supply was inundated and there was more supply than demand, and there were tenants hanging around after foreclosure and this and that, cash for keys became in vogue, if you will, because it was a good strategy to help walk the person out without court. But that's part of a consultation. Like you wouldn't start with that. I'll say that, Jerry.
Okay.
You wouldn't start with that in your negotiations.
All right, good stuff as always from Mark Stiles. Stiles Law, Route 139 in Marshfield. This is Feel Good Friday. Mark, tell us how we can get in touch with you and ask more questions.
The best way is 781-319-1900. That is our office. I always encourage folks to go to our YouTube channel, YouTube at Stiles Law. There's a bunch of videos that are similar to questions like this, and you could search within that. But folks, come by tomorrow, 1 to 4. We'll be out there. We'll have the tent up. I think we're going to have the karaoke machine out there. We're going to be having a fun time. 1 to 4, it's going to be beautiful like today, and if it's not, we're still going to be there. So come by. Even if you don't have documents to shred and you see us and you think food pantry, pull in, come in. Strike them a check and help somebody live a little easier.
And 617 checking in that says food pantry checks. Who do we make them out to, Mark?
Marshfield Food Pantry.
Marshfield Food Pantry.
Thank you, 617.
All right, you
Go
got
Celtics, 617.
it. Go Celtics. Mark Stiles, Stiles Law, every Friday at this time. It's Feel Good Friday. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Rob. Have a great week, everybody. See you tomorrow.